All right, and we are live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we got a lot to talk about in our live stream. We're first going to look at a bug in the Avalanche protocol that could have taken down the entire blockchain. Okay, and what you need to understand about this. We're going to look at that. We're going to look at a lot of other space, news updates that have happened in the space since yesterday. Look at the resolution of a really big crypto hack in the space. I think it was $80 million recovered. I'll check the actual number here. We check on the crypto markets, answer some of your questions, and a whole lot more. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory. On this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. So if that's something that you're interested in, then smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to this channel. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master, step by step, start to finish, land your first blockchain job in a matter of months, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. We got Dale above Realty, Anthony, Kodia, Jay Lee, Ardal, Torin, Ugandan Crypto Guru, Daniel, Larry, Jaya, Mike, Linda. Welcome. All right, so let's get into this. Let's talk about this bug that was found in Avalanche that could have taken down the entire blockchain. Right. So this is a pretty big deal. So I'll pull this up on my screen here. So this is a report that was released yesterday. All right. That outlines a bug that was previously found in the Avalanche network. Okay. So this report was put out by Peter Szilagyi, who is a Ethereum core developer. Okay, so this is somebody who has some significant experience in the space and probably one of the deepest understandings of protocol design. I have a very small pool of people on the entire face of the planet. Okay, and this is actually a report that's just published straight on his GitHub. I'll put a link to this in the description below. So I was looking at this and saw it kind of breaking some of the news outlets and went and verified for myself. It is actually published on his GitHub. You can just click through to it and verify that it is the exact same person. So what is it? So anyways, this was a bug that was found previously earlier this year, okay, in the Avalanche protocol that was disclosed and was patched and fixed, but we had sort of a crisis narrowly averted, okay, and now we're actually learning about all the details of this after the fact, and a comprehensive report on exactly what the issue was, how it could be abused, and where the code is in the protocol, and how it was patched and fixed and resolved. So if you want to read through this and kind of get a deeper understanding, then I'll definitely will link that in the live chat replay. You can just check the chat box over there. I just dropped the link. I'll just drop it again right now. Okay, so let's go through and see what happened. So, anyways, like I said before, this vulnerability was found early this year back in March, and at the time of discovery, Avalanche had more than $9 billion in TVL and a market cap of roughly $24 billion. So this was still like when things were, kind of on the frothier side of the crypto space. Okay, I mean, we were already on a downtrend, but things were still, significantly, more valuable than they were today. And the issue has since been patched. Okay. So basically, the vulnerability essentially was a remote node crash via a malicious peer list package. So what does that mean? So basically, an attacker could have essentially funded an Avalanche node, okay, for roughly about $180,000, okay, and sent out malicious peer list packages used for network communication to other nodes and effectively taken down the entire network. So basically, you're broadcasting a list of peers, and essentially, you would be sending out compromised list here that could essentially cause other nodes to falter in that connection and then halt the network, okay? So basically, the attacker could have opted to run a non-validator node connected to only validators versus all nodes in the network that would effectively give the same result but would take much longer to play out. So basically, Avalanche is very relaxed on network connections it makes, and even a single connection is enough to take down a node. All right. So since all nodes in the network connect to all validators, it's pretty much an insta-death for the entire network. So that's pretty strong. Okay. Anyways, he wrote, in the case of the attacker funding the new validators to run his attack, they would opt to put in a short on the AVAX token, even with the upfront cost of this amount. Yeah, basically all you have to do is take out a large short position, okay? Fund a validator for 180 grand, take the network down, then close your short position. Basically, this is because, the network would rebound anyway after a few hours, so no long-term value will be lost by the malicious validator, okay? So what he's saying here basically is it can essentially cause the network to halt and falter and basically stop effectively for a few hours, okay? But it would essentially be able to rebound again. But here's the big issue here. You could basically just short the coin itself and then take down the network, watch the price tank, and then boom, close your short. And so you've got a lot of manipulation open, even if you don't have a situation where like you're just hacking people's wallets or something like that. There's still ways where it could really compromise the ecosystem. So that's what the bug is. It has been fixed, okay, and that's why we don't see the reports like this come out with all the details, thankfully, until long after these issues have been resolved, okay. And so you can see all the details of the math and the code exactly inside of this GitHub report, which I've linked to in the live chat replay. So pretty crazy, pretty crazy. So, speaking of technical vulnerabilities and hacks and all that type of stuff, I want to bring up sort of an update on the Axie Ronin Bridge attack, okay, earlier this year, the exploit, because that's some funds that was recovered from that. I think at the beginning of this video, I said it might have been 80 million. It's actually 30 million. So that's correcting myself here. But 30 million was just seized, okay, how the cryptocurrency community is making it difficult for North Korean hackers to profit. So this is on the Chainalysis blog. If you're not familiar with Chainalysis, they are a blockchain analytics company that's focused, I would say, I don't want to put words in their mouth, but mostly like on compliance type stuff. Well, I say compliance, maybe that's not the right word. They help catch bad guys in many cases, okay, and other things. But you see their name come up a lot whenever these exploits happen, basically trying to track down attackers. That's not the only thing they do, but there's different types of blockchain analytics out there. There's things where you can analyze data for like trading purposes. You know what I mean? This is a different ball game altogether, basically, trying to, track down people for different reasons, right? And so, like, Chainalysis, but we've been talking about Tornado Cash stuff, where basically, Tornado Cash is a privacy solution for Ethereum, makes it hard to link your wallet addresses. There's, a lot of people think that, Chainalysis has kind of cracked the code on Tornado Cash and can, basically track down. So there's stuff like that, right? I'm not saying all that's 100% true necessarily, but that's the word on the street at least. Just setting the stage for who this is. So one of the most troubling trends in crypto crime right now is the stunning rise in funds stolen from DeFi protocols, in particular cross-chain bridges. Okay, much of the value stolen from DeFi protocols can be attributed to bad actors affiliated with North Korea, especially elite hacking units like Lazarus Group. Okay, we expect that so far in 2022, North Korean linked groups have stolen approximately $1 billion from DeFi protocols. Okay. So earlier this year, we talked about the Axie Infinity Ronin Bridge. Again, if you're not familiar with a bridge is something that just lets you move cryptocurrency between blockchains. So if you got ETH or Ethereum, like on your Ethereum blockchain, and you want to go to that Axie ecosystem, you got a bridge over there or use an exchange, okay? So a lot of people who want to custody their own funds use bridges. We've seen bridges get exploited all the time because they typically have funds locked into one blockchain, and then, funds on the other side that lets you sort of facilitate that withdrawal. Make no mistake, bridges are always about depositing and withdrawing. They're never about really transferring funds, and that's why they're so vulnerable to attack in many cases. So we saw that major exploit happen early this year. It was like $600 million. Okay, it was insane. It was a lot of money. Yeah, right here, $600 million from the Rotor Network, a sidechain built for a player in game Axie Infinity. So with the help of law enforcement and leading organizations in the cryptocurrency industry, more than $30 million worth of stolen cryptocurrency has been seized. So this marks the first time ever that cryptocurrency stolen by a North Korean hacking group has been seized, and we're confident it won't be the last. So this is a big deal. Like we've tracked down a lot of the attackers from some of the other hacks, but this is the first time that they have been able to actually get funds back from a North Korean group. Okay, a lot of that's got to do with sort of just the international relations between countries and the ability to cooperate and extradite and all that type of stuff, right? So this is a pretty big deal because for a long time they've kind of had some leverage in this regard, but now we're actually able to find ways to extract some of those funds back. Okay. So anyways, if you want to read how the Rotor Bridge was hacked and the stolen funds were laundered, you can see basically what happened is stolen Ether was sent to Meteor wallets. Ether mixed in batches of Tornado Cash, just like I was talking a minute ago. Ether swapped for Bitcoin. Bitcoin mixed in batches, and then Bitcoin deposited to crypto to fiat services for cash out. And so you can sort of see the line of execution here. All right. I'll put a link to this. This is pretty interesting to read through if you want to see how they're accomplishing this type of stuff. So it says bull season just got started. Maybe. We'll see. However, the U.S. Treasury Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, recently sanctioned Tornado Cash for its role in laundering $455 million worth of cryptocurrency stolen from Axie Infinity. Since then, Lazarus Group has moved away from the popular Ethereum mixer. So I see even Chainalysis calls it a mixer. So instead of leveraging DeFi services to chain hop or switch between several kinds of cryptocurrencies in a single transaction. So bridges serve as an important function to move digital assets between chains, and most usage of these platforms is completely legitimate. So Lazarus appears to be using bridges in an attempt to obscure the source of funds. Okay, so that's basically money laundering. With Chainalysis tools, these cross-chain fund movements are easily traced. So that's what I was talking about before. They're basically tracking people. They have sophisticated tools to do that, and they are able to trace them much easier with this way. So anyways, they're able to kind of do all this. So really, really fascinating stuff. Really fascinating stuff. If you're looking for a if you're a blockchain developer out there and you're like kind of already in it, and you want to potentially carve out a really, lucrative niche for yourself, and you're super bright, there's a couple paths for you for sure. Like auditing is a huge path. Basically, if you can spot bugs in smart contracts, you can kind of write your own check. You know what I mean? We've seen developers make $1 million in a single day, right? Because they're able to rescue, they're basically able to prevent big hacks like this from happening. Okay, we saw that with Samsung within the past year with Sushi Swap. Maybe it was the past year or so, maybe past 18 months. Also is like this, basically with auditing, not auditing, excuse me, with analytics, basically, and being able to track people. Okay, so if you're an on-chain detective, an on-chain sleuth, and you're able to trace transactions and link identities, that is a highly lucrative skill set, and for lots of ways. I mean, even for your own trading edge, right? But also for this type of thing as well. So if you're a developer and you're looking for something, really a special niche to carve out, these are definitely some things to consider. So speaking of Tornado Cash and all this, hacking and compliance and drama, okay, we've got an interesting update on that front. So if you're not familiar with this, basically what happened earlier this year was we saw for the first time ever a piece of software gets sanctioned by the United States Treasury. Okay, so some of that earlier in the blog with Chainalysis. So Tornado Cash is a privacy solution based on Ethereum. They even call it a mixer here inside the Chainalysis blog. But basically what it is like, you know, everything you do on a blockchain can be pretty easily traced, right? Like if you have, because everything's public, right? So if you have an address, like an Ethereum wallet, and you do a bunch of transactions, let's say you trade some tokens, you flip some NFTs, you bridge over to a different blockchain, you do all that. Anyways, all that activity, while that address does not necessarily have your, you know, name on it, right? It's still like, it's a pseudonym, right? And all the activity can be traced to that pseudonym. And let's say you bought money on, I'll say you bought crypto on an exchange like FTX, Coinbase, Binance, and you withdrew to that address, like you've KYC'd on that exchange, they're gonna know it's probably you. Okay, and then you go do all that stuff and you withdraw and you send it back to the exchange, right? They're gonna be able to like link that to your ID documents that you submitted whenever you register for your account, right? That's just a simple example that most people are gonna understand. But let's say if somehow you got clean crypto on chain, right? Like let's say you mined it, right, to your address. And then, you know, you got clean crypto, and then basically you still like all the activity can be linked back to that address, right? So the whole point of a privacy solution like Tornado is that you could essentially deposit money into this app, okay, from your address, and then claim it to a fresh wallet. That it's really hard to link the depositing wallet and the withdrawing wallet. Okay, now there's legitimate reasons why you would want to do this. It's not just for nefarious purposes, right? It's not just so that you can launder money. It's not just so that you can hide, you know, and not pay taxes and commit tax fraud and tax evasion, right? It's not just that, right? Like, let's say that you legitimately held crypto on chain, and like it's your hard-earned money, you pay taxes on it, you know, you're holding for the long term, but for operational security purposes, you want to split your crypto up across multiple wallets, and you don't want the identity of each wallet to be linked back to one another. That's a pretty simple, you know, legitimate use case of why you want to separate two wallets from one another. Anyways, that's what Tornado Cash is. That's what it does. So I'm just illustrating that there's, of course, ways that it can be used for nefarious purposes, and also legitimate ways in which honest people might want to preserve their privacy, right? Like, let's say you want to pay somebody, but you didn't want them to reveal exactly how much money you had. So anyways, Tornado Cash was sanctioned earlier this year by the U.S. Treasury, particularly with OFAC, okay? And this has been a huge deal in the blockchain community because, you know, you just can't even touch the app, like you go to jail. You know what I mean? So we've seen lots of pushback from this, and a lot of people think that the U.S. Treasury has overstepped their bounds. And today we see that Coinbase, I mean, this has been common knowledge for about a week or so, but I wanted to bring it up because I haven't really talked about it that much in our live streams. Coinbase is bankrolling a lawsuit against the Treasury Department following the Tornado Cash sanctions. Okay, so they are footing the bill, okay, for a lawsuit filed against the Treasury Department on Thursday, okay, by the recently sanctioned Tornado Cash. The 6 plaintiffs, including Coinbase employees and other users of the mixing service, was blacklisted by the Treasury's Office of Foreign Asset Control, OFAC, I was talking about. Anyways, they're talking about that they saw this as a much larger problem. Okay, it's a dangerous precedent if this code can be designated without any limits imposed by law. Any technology or tool or system could be fair game. So they're kind of just saying like, hey, you know, this was applied quickly, and where's the line, right? If we can start here, like, what else can we not just slap down a sanction on top of, right? There's lots of other things that could be a risk. So, we'll see what the outcome of this is, but I think it's like I think it's a good thing, especially out of the Coinbase ecosystem, because it just shows that they really are fighting for crypto. At least that's how I perceive it, right? There's a lot of people going to say, hey, this is disingenuous, blah, blah, blah. It's all for optics. They'll be kind of cynical, in that regard. But I just don't really, I don't fade Coinbase as much as other people do. Like we've seen a lot of drama going about it. But they're definitely a really early player in the space, okay? I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt that they truly care for the long-term impact of crypto, okay? Because honestly, it's in their best interest to fight for the entire crypto ecosystem because that's the lifeblood of their business, okay? And so, like, I don't think that Coinbase is playing short-term games. I think Coinbase is playing long-term games, and they have the resources to help, push this type of thing, and you want them on your side, and I think that they are. So I've got a higher view, I think, of their intentions than a lot of people do. Somebody says, don't trust Base ever. Go trust Coinbase ever. Stole everyone's Bitcoin Cash, never forget. So, I mean, I'm talking about their actions for the broader crypto ecosystem. Like, I'm not talking about, a situation where you may not have been able to access your funds for a certain amount of time. There's always headaches when you're dealing with cryptocurrency, customer support. I'm not saying they've never done anything unsatisfactory in the past. I'm not saying they're a perfect institution by any stretch of the imagination, but when you're talking about their sort of long-term vision of the crypto space and doing things to actually preserve its existence and neutrality, I'm gonna back that horse. Okay, so where am I from that people say tornado? Mostly that's from the creators of Tornado Cash calling it tornado. So I'm going to pronounce it how they say it. I say tornado when I'm talking about the thing that I don't want to blow my house down, but I'm talking about the application name and how the creators of the application actually say the name. I'm going to say how they say it. Okay, so let's take a look at the crypto markets here. So we're seeing a nice green spike in the crypto space in the past 24 hours. Okay, so I mean, it's really anybody's guess as to what's going on here. Things have been kind of, for lack of better words, schizophrenic over the past week or so. Okay, I mean, we saw this, right? We saw this massive spike, and then boom, this huge blow up right here, followed by a quick recovery and a push to a new local high on a multi-week time frame. Okay, so I think the ETH merge is still a big factor here. Of course, we're seeing some positive momentum and with the Bitcoin price as well. It's a really confusing time, right? I would love to sit here and give you a perfect explanation as to what's happening. I really can't, right? When we were over here, we had pretty good clarity on what was happening because it looked like a very crypto-specific blow-up, okay? We weren't seeing a tight correlation with the stock market right here because we saw some pretty weird activity with some leverage blowups in the crypto space that kind of spread across the entire markets. But yeah, I think that's pretty evident by the fact that we recovered from it pretty quickly. All right, but we zoom out on sort of a multi-month time frame. This, it looks like it's headed in the right direction, but I mean, we'll just have to wait and see. I'm not getting too excited until we get past the Ethereum merge. We start to see some sort of rebound in the stock market. Okay, a lot of that's going to be governed by what's happening with monetary policy. I think a lot of people are still waiting for a Fed pivot to get confirmation to confidently enter back in the marketplace. Of course, we've got an election coming up in November. There's lots of, perspective that the stock market's going to get, artificially propped up until November. And then, like, once the midterm elections are happening, it's like, we'll just let it do its thing. I mean, we'll see if that meme plays out. Okay. Some people think we're kicking the can down the road till after the election, and then we'll see the real nasty dump before things start to recover. Okay. We'll see if there's any truth to that. Time will tell. But I do think one possible scenario that I have been outlining for many months on my channel is this. Well, actually, first, before I talk about that, we do have some recovery in the stock market. Okay, so crypto, we've been kind of on this path for the past 5 days or so. It could be that crypto is kind of catching back up after its brief, hiatus from this sort of puke that we saw before. Okay. Anyway, so one possibility that's sort of outlined in my channel here over the past several months is everybody and their brother is sort of waiting for a Fed pivot. Okay. And while I do think the Fed pivot could essentially, assuming it does happen, okay, and there's a lot of problems with this, okay. One, we're just assuming that we're going to get a Fed pivot just handed to us on a silver platter, and it's going to be announced from the mountaintop, and the message is going to be clear, and that, it's going to be unambiguous, all right, and it's just going to mark the V-shaped bottom, and we're going to rocket back to new all-time highs on all the major stock indices with crypto, blah, 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 blah. That's kind of like the real naive notion that's floating around, okay? Kind of like last year when we were at basically $70,000 per Bitcoin, or else it was like 68, 69K, but basically 70,000. And there was a naive idea that, like, we're just about to crush through 100K, right? So, markets have a way of doing not the opposite of what most people think, but basically not doing what everyone thinks, all right? Because this world is not so binary. It's not so easy as, like, there's an opposite to every single thing, right? So, Bitcoin did not make it to 100K. Right? We didn't just blast through it. Ether did not make it to 10K. We didn't just blast through it, right? The party ended early. So, in terms of the Fed pivot, like, there's a high degree of likelihood that we don't see this, like, just perfect, clearly announced from on high Fed pivot. That's one thing, all right? The other thing is that the other assumption is the Fed pivot's going to mark the bottom. You know what I mean? And if let's say I'm wrong with the first thing. Let's say it is super clear and it's, like, unambiguous and it's, announced loudly, right? Let's just say that does happen. There's no guarantee that's going to, like, perfectly match the bottom of the price chart, which I think was what a lot of people were thinking, right? We could very easily see a situation where things have already started to make a significant recovery, and then it happens, okay, and then everybody, when they realize it's happened, is sort of forced to chase at a higher entry and didn't really get the good entries at the absolute bottom of the market. Now, some people say, it doesn't matter because we're not, chasing the bottom, blah, 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 blah. But there could be some real pain where a lot of these cryptos in particular are at a lot higher prices than people would anticipate for a, quote unquote Fed pivot, right? And some of that's got to do with just what's happening in the crypto ecosystem as a whole. We got the Ethereum merge coming up next week. I've been saying for a long time that there's a chance that because of what's going to happen to the ETH monetary supply, that we could start to see some organic price appreciation within the Ethereum ecosystem itself that's independent of, excess liquidity flowing around, a bull market froth, all this type of stuff. So, ETH could become a leader. Let's say that ETH just started to, organically increase in price based upon the economics that come out after the merge. Like, we could be sitting in a situation where ETH, gets a lot closer back to its previous all-time high. You know what I mean? And then, by the time that happens, we see some sort of pivot. And then, who wants to be chasing the momentum whenever, we're printing new all-time highs? So that's a possible scenario, right? I'm not even necessarily saying that all this stuff is going to happen, that it's even super likely to happen, but I always like to, analyze what the herd thinks and then try to say, okay, well, whatever the herd thinks, they haven't been very good at predicting things in the past. So what are some possible alternatives, based upon just the assumption that the herd's going to be wrong? So just one thing to think about. Definitely not financial advice. Not telling you to buy or sell any crypto based on that information. I'm not going to sit here and, scream at the top of the world if I end up being right. And likewise, I'm not going to hang my head if that prediction is wrong. But one thing to consider. Do I think the merge and ETH2 will become a stronger competitor to current L2 scaling solutions? If ETH2's performance increases, how do you think this will affect other EVMs? So basically, L2s are going to benefit from the ETH merge in the sense of, well, I'll put it this way. I mean, like ETH is not going to like the merge is not going to make Ethereum really faster. Like we're still going to use layer 2s basically for that purpose. Okay. Now with sharding, okay, coming up, who knows when, but let's hope next year. That's actually going to make rollups faster because they're going to have their own. There's going to be basically like the layer 1 blockchain is going to treat roll-up solutions differently than regular transactions, okay? And they're going to have their own fee markets. They'll have a special way to store their information on the blockchain itself that's going to make them faster and help scalability. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. And if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am, you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? You can definitely go to my YouTube homepage. You can find those free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you how to master blockchain step-by-step, start to finish, over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I thought people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. And until next time,